America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just remain standing. Reverend Hunt will give our invocation tonight.
Let's pray. Good and gracious God, we thank you for this season of joy, hope, and love. Good and gracious God, we ask that you give our city council wisdom tonight as they discuss the business of our city. And God, we ask protection over those who protect our city, our police officers and our fire department, especially those that have to work and have to be on guard for Christmas and New Year's. Good and gracious God, we thank you for this day, and we ask your blessing. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. Merry Christmas. The clerk take the roll, please.
Councilman Templin.
Present.
Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Here.
Councilman Rourke.
Here.
Madam Pro Tem McLeod. Treasurer Armstrong.
Present.
And Mayor Mategas.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Pardon. Point of order. I'm here as well.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry about
It's
that.
okay, present. No grievance, no protest.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Councilwoman. I'll ask for a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda, December 20th, please.
Motion.
Support. Mayor Pro Tem McLeod has moved and supported by Councilman Templin. Any corrections, additions, deletions?
Let's separate claims and accounts there, Mr. Mayor.
Without objection, we will take the consent item, purchasing actions, claims, and accounts, and separate it from the other three consent agenda items. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Motion to approve the minutes for November 22nd's council meeting.
Motion.
Councilwoman Gavarecki, supported by Councilman Rourke. Is there any discussion, changes, additions, deletions? I hear none. I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. Approval of the minutes of the special meeting for December 6th. Could I have a motion on that, please?
Motion.
Councilman Cisco
Support
has moved.
for my good friend here.
Supported by Councilman DeGiulio. Is there any discussion, additions, changes? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. We're at the organizational business, and the city administrator, please.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council, residents. Just a real quick update, as we were just here last week, but the Warwick and Arlington water main replacement project is nearly complete. They'll be doing the final tie-in on Warwick Avenue or Warwick Street at Allen Road on January 9th. The boiler replacement at the ice arena has been completed, and the fire department will be taking delivery of their new ambulance on January 4th. And just wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, same to you.
I will take a motion to accept and file the updates.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Rourke, supported by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Councilman Cisco?
I just wanted to follow up on something we had talked about a long time ago as far as garbage pickup for businesses, and if there's been any kind of, progress made on that.
Yeah, we were talking to Chris Preston late last week about getting a plan to have action together, and Terry Kerr actually met with Jennifer this morning, and there was some work being made. We're gonna work together over the holiday here to get a plan in action, be able to send somebody out there to finalize all those locations and get that wrapped up.
And the only other thing is, are we going to have, in anticipation of possibly another snow emergency or anything, a plan of action for the city, re the cars that are parked on the street that are stopping our workers from doing their job.
Yeah, that was a discussion at lunch today, and what we're going to be doing on that is, the chief was just verifying that the ordinance officers will be able to issue tickets. We know Ken can issue tickets, we're not too sure about Jack and Tanya, so he's just verifying that. If that's the case, then they're going to be the first wave to go out, and then possibly have the police come back in if they're off the road from accidents or anything that usually happen on a bad weather day, and just go out and issue the tickets. We feel pretty confident that once that gets out, word gets out, tickets are being issued, and people actually do receive those. They'll be quick to get their vehicles off the street next time around.
And I think the more that we talk about it here, or me asking you a question about it, it gets out a little bit more, and maybe people are telling their neighbors, hey, your car gets parked on the street, you're going to get a ticket.
Yeah. I was going to have Matt come back, but I didn't want to do an encore for that. He did a great job, and I apologize it was so long, but I think he was just trying to get the information out and the point across, and then council did have a lot of questions too, so.
Yeah.
I think he
Thank
did
you.
a good job, though.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Clerk has a matter tonight, and I'll take a motion to adopt the 2017 regular city council meeting schedule.
Motion?
Motion by, was that Councilman Cisco?
Yes.
Support.
Councilman DeGiulio has seconded. It was in our packet. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. At this point, we're at the citizens' public comment. On the back of the agendas is the rules of decorum. I ask that you observe those in your comments and questions here. And please come forward this time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dennis Hayes, Manor Avenue. I wanted to address something I addressed at the special meeting you had recently with respect to the audit. On page 12 of the little document that we had, they spoke to the water, what do you call it, the enterprise fund. And if you look at that, in 2015, we spent about $600,000 on personnel services, and in 2016, we spent about $1.2 million, double the amount on personnel services. Then looking onward to the budget for 17 through 21, the projected personnel services budgeted line item is back down around that 600,000 range. I mean, it might be 580 or whatever. Now, that is an anomalous situation, to be sure. Doubling personnel services line item in 1 year seems, almost unbelievable. Now, and before we get confused about, we did a lot of water line repair stuff. Most of the big ticket items we did through contracted services. Unless we doubled our personnel costs during that year, which I rather doubt we did, this is either an error or another alternative theory I've kicked around in my head is that we allocated an excessive amount of money from the various other departments as to make their budgets look like they fell within the budget. And we know we have a history in this city of borrowing from the water department, which is an enterprise fund, which is outside the general fund, and therefore not examined as carefully or as often as the general fund. Now, I'd hate to think that our auditors, if that's the case, and I'm not saying it is, I'm just speculating, because there's no way I could justify a doubling of the salaries and wages in a 1-year period and then budgeting back to the original period. But they took great pains to mention that the departments all came in within budget. All the general fund department, police, fire, public service, whatever. But this is so anomalous that I think it deserves a detailed and specific explanation, because that is a lot of money. $600,000 increase over a $600,000 budget is almost incomprehensible. So I'd ask that you kindly examine that and come back, not tonight necessarily, because you need time to do it, and explain how that could possibly be. And as to Councilman Sisko's remark about the tickets, my only concern in the ordinance officer aspect, that's fine, but as we all know, what usually happens, the snow starts falling at 6 o'clock, snows through the night. The ordinance officers don't work at night, nor do they work on the weekends, to my knowledge, either. They hinted that they might at some point. Maybe they do now sometimes. But the fact of the matter is, the first line of defense is the police officers. And I understand if they're tied up with an accident, if they're tied up with a run, if they're tied up with a shooting, God forbid, or something like that, then they can't be there. But if they are out there driving around, as they are likely to be, I presume, then they should be issuing tickets. I don't want this fallback position to say, well, it's the ordinance officer's job. It's not their job, in my opinion. It may be a job they can take on, but it's not their primary job. I see that as the police officer's primary job. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Al Wojcinski, Vine Avenue. Okay, let's get it on the record, period. What is a snow emergency? How much snow do we have to get? And how long does this emergency last? This last snow, we had our streets plowed, but there was no snow emergency. So how much snow does it take, ice, whatever? Because people were moving their cars, and other people just parked right in where the spaces were clean and no tickets. What is a snow emergency?
Snow emergency occurs when either the DPS director for snow removal calls me, or the commander for the shift calls me and says that the officers in the field think that conditions are so bad that a snow emergency is warranted. When DPS calls, and I talked on this last one, I think it was Friday or Saturday, I can't even remember, but over this weekend, they indicated that they didn't expect much snow and they expected melting by noon. Their people were coming in at 4 o'clock to deal with it, but they didn't think a snow emergency was warranted. Unless one of those two things occur, I do not call the commander, a shift commander, and ask that he contact all of the media and that we put on our Facebook page or in our website, the snow emergency. The length of time I think in the 4 or 5 that I've called, almost always called for a 24-hour, but that one that we had that went up to 11 or 12 inches, I think we called that one for 48 hours. I think it was 2 days, because the shifts were, generally the shifts are working 12 hours, off 5, on 12, off 5, until they get the roads clear.
Okay,
and
but here was
get
the
solved.
problem. In the media, TV and everything, they had all our adjoining cities, on a snow emergency. The only one that wasn't was Allen Park. Is that, you know, they call snow emergency in Dearborn Heights, Dearborn, Lincoln Park and everything, but
I don't know how they call their snow emergencies. I just told you how we call our snow emergencies.
how many inches? 4, 6, 10?
It is not necessarily a certain number of inches. It's going to be a condition that's going to depend on rain, it's going to depend on ice, it's going to depend on a number of things. And the police officers in the field driving are going to see it, or the superintendent for the snow. So I'm not going to give you a number for the second time. I'm not giving you a number of how many inches that before a snow removal,
So-
before an emergency is called.
I guess it's then safe to say if an adjoining community declares a snow emergency, get our cars off the street. And by the way, everybody have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and drive safe.
Good evening, Mayor. Ray McGusson Quant. Good evening, City Council. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Couple of things. I really believe, Mayor, that after the last couple snow that we had, we have to look at what we should do to make it easier for our citizens. Because once those streets are plowed, and they're plowed, curb to curb, then I don't see why we have to still have to go ahead and try to figure out where we're going to park our cars. In other cities, once they're plowed, they can park their cars right back again. I think we need to look at those procedures, and like Mr. Wozinski just said, if it's 3 inches, 4 inches, maybe that's what the determination fact should be. Because I'll tell you one thing, after the last snow, our streets don't look the greatest anymore. They really look pretty bad. This is one question. On the ordinance officer, do we have an ordinance officer that can give tickets? And then we have other ordinance officers that can't give tickets? Or what's the deal?
It depends on what kind of violation they're conducting. Ken has the ability to write for misdemeanors, and the 2 new officers are at civil infractions.
So what is snow emergencies and trash pickup days?
Typically fall first under civil infractions.
Then maybe we should make sure that they can be granted
Yeah, that's what we're
the
working
right
on.
to go ahead and give tickets. Because I'm going to tell you right now, to all my citizens on Quant, listen up. Please keep your cars off the street, especially on trash pickup day, which they're still parking those vehicles there. Same ones, every single day, snow emergency, same ones. Trash pickup days, same ones. Let's talk about the trash being picked up. We definitely need something done about that. We got them on Allen Road. Some of those people, just give them a trash container. Business or not. Figure out what you need to do. For the ones in the alleys that line their back of their businesses up with the black garbage bags, and there's a big trash dumpster sitting not too far, I don't understand that. And I'm going to say something today, and I'm going to say this to all our citizens, especially the ones that are sitting behind me. I come up here with the right to speak. Anyone comes up here has the right to speak. Please give us some respect. Even the ones that are sitting in their chairs. When we got someone that's sitting behind individuals that are attacking those people, and it's the same people that attack the same people, that needs to be stopped. And I understand you're up here and you can't hear it, but I can sure hear it back here. And something needs to be done when those individuals are calling people names when we come up here. We have that right. We get granted 4 minutes, and that's all we're granted. So with that, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and be safe. Thank you very much.
I don't see anyone else coming forward, so I'm going to close the public comment period. But before we go on to the consent agenda items, I think we got a signal from the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Cady, has an answer about the water expenses.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I did get with the auditors after the special meeting, and in response to former Councilman Hayes' question, here's what the answer I got. This is from Jay Wild, the principal from Allen Young. It says, Bob, I took a look at the personnel services, and the difference is explained by the impact of the pension expense between the 2 years. 2016 had a pension expense of $400,000. 2015 actually had a credit to the pension expense of $287,000 after calculating the impact of the changes to deferred inflows, deferred outflows, and the pension liability. The GASB, as you remember last year, the GASB 67, 68 came into effect, and so there had to be some adjustments made to affect that with GASB 67. So there were charges to the funds that make some of the numbers look a little skewed from one year to the other. The other thing, as I mentioned in the study session, is we only have like 20 guys in a DPW, and we charge them where they actually work. So if they work in water, they get charged to water. If they work in DPW, they get charged DPW. In 2015, the DPW had $474,687,000 in personnel cost. So there was about 300 and some thousand charged to water, I think. In 2016, only 440,476,000 was charged to DPW. So I would expect to see more charged to water because they're going to make the same amount of money every year. So I hope that helps explain the difference.
Thank you, Mr. Cady. Ask for a motion to put claims and accounts before the council.
Motion, Mayor.
Councilman DeGiulio has moved. Do I have a second?
Support.
Supported by Councilman Templin. Questions, Mr. DeGiulio?
I do. Here on litigation, seems like we spent an awful lot of money on litigation costs. I mean, it seemed like we got about, I don't know, close to $30,000 on litigation. And this is something I need explained to me, so maybe you can do it, Mr. Covier. We've reached the $15,000 threshold on the officer that's being sued, correct? I don't want to mention his name unless you want me to.
Well, we have, there's insurance coverage for part of the defense, and there's also our firm is defending the city for certain aspects of this for which there is not insurance coverage.
So this part of it will never go to the $15,000, and the insurance will take over. This could run anything, and it's on the city to do it, correct?
That's right, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Well, I don't, you know, I know it'll end eventually, but.
Right, but until it does end,
But it is in addition to, you're correct when you say it's in addition to that 15,000.
It's in addition, so
Does that
it
helps? or-
it's answering, but that's an awful lot of money. I mean, $30,000 this month for litigation, for attorneys. I'm really flabbergasted to see that kind of money, $30,000 or more.
I think there was actually a little bit of another issue in there too, was that some of those were some outstanding invoices from way back, back to the time possibly of Mrs. Folks.
So we're talking months and months ago, we owed money.
Yeah, they were not paid, and we were not aware of that. So when they settled up with Joe's office and Darlene from our office, we were able to go back and clear, make sure everything was all cleared. So they are all set now.
Okay. I guess we'll let it go with that, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mayor Pro Tem McLeod?
Just for clarification, I do some different sorts on this, and I don't think the actual litigation was that amount. We may have paid attorney fees, but some of it was the normal, what we pay for the city attorney.
Right.
When I sort it by litigation, it comes to around 10,000 or less. for actual litigation charges.
Oh, I don't know, I don't see that now here, 10,000 or less.
Well, I'll show you my spreadsheet. The overall cost, I mean, we're paying the attorneys for their regular
We pay
services.
$8,000 a month, 6,000
Right.
for,
Right.
and
But what's
2,000
tagged
for-
as litigation is about 10,000 or less.
still too much. But it still came out to
Zero would
30,
be wonderful.
it still came out to $30,000 this month that we paid out. And it says litigation here. Okay. Maybe it was 50 cents, I don't know.
There are other comments or questions? I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you very much. I'll ask consent agenda for payroll report, curbside pickups. Number 1, Codrut Homorogan, fee paid, and curbside pickup permit number 2 for Richard Moore. And if I could have a motion for these 3 items, please.
Motion.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. We're at the resolutions. We are at the approve the upgrade to the BS&A software in the building department. Could I have a motion to put that before the council?
Motion.
Support. Councilman Gavarecki is moved, supported by Councilman Cisco. Is there any discussion?
One question.
Councilman Rourke?
Because we just purchased, and we do this for the finance department as well?
Yeah,
Are we
the
getting
fixed
piggyback
assets.
deals on this stuff, or? Mr. Finance?
A deal because of volume from the BSNA?
I mean, is the software you're buying including software that Dave's buying as well, or are these all separate?
Good evening again. They're separate modules. The one I bought was for controlling of fixed assets, which we'd gotten written up on the audit. Dave is actually trying to do something with his inspectors. It's kind of like they have tablets, and when they're out in the field, they'll be able to remote in to make those changes from the tablets rather than trying to write down notes and then get back and load them into the system. It's just, also it'll help him with permits when people are waiting here and they're out there in the field. So they're 2 different modules.
But I mean, is there a volume discount? Do we keep buying all these modules throughout everybody?
BSNA gives us a good price on that, but they're kind of a sole provider, and we get the biggest discount that we can get from them on that stuff.
Yeah, as Bob intimated, this software will allow our inspectors to have tablets out in the field, anywhere in the city, to have real-time information and data on all the permits, inspections. It will help us reduce paper. It'll help in the office, so right now that we physically, when someone calls in, the clerical staff pulls a paper copy, puts it in a box, the inspector comes in, takes the paper copy, out with him on the field, so he's got the information. This will eliminate all of that paper processes, and the inspectors actually will just have a tablet that they will have in their vehicle, that they can do the inspection, enter the information, pass, failed, whatever it is, and they can load it right there. When they're done in the day, they will bring their tablets back, put it into a docking station. It will download any of the next day's inspection request. It will process any reports that need to be generated or letters that need to be sent out because of the inspection. And it should really help streamline the processes for both the building inspectors and the ordinance officers. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, great. Any questions while we have Mr. Boomer before us? Thank you, Mr. Boomer. Have a Merry Christmas. If there are no other questions by council, I'll ask for the vote on the matter. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. To approve the 2017 fire inspection and plan review schedule.
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Rourke, supported by Councilman Templin.
Essentially, this
Good
is,
evening,
piggybacking onto the ordinance that you passed last week, the new fire code ordinance. This was what is referred to in that ordinance as the price list, and there's the price list.
My goal is to make it effective January 1. I'll get a copy of it to Mr. Boomer so that, because his office girls are the ones that do all of our billing and collecting of funds for this, so. That's it.
Any questions by council? I don't see any from council. I have one, Chief. On a reinspection. What's the general necessity for the reinspection?
Sure. As an example, let's say our fire marshal is called out to do a final inspection on a new sprinkler system. And then the contractor says, it's all set, good to go, come on out and take a look at it. If he finds faults or issues with it and he has to come back out for a reinspection, that's when the fee is brought up. It encourages contractors to make sure the job is done right the first time and not waste the time of our fire marshal.
So if the fee is, I don't know where it is.
If it's $100, then it would be $150 for the reinspection.
So it'd be a total of $250 that would be paid by that business, that contractor.
The contractor, yep.
Yeah. Okay, it is not, there's not a reinspection fee if you come out and you add less items to the list.
Less items? You mean, what do you mean?
Additional items?
Yes. You go out and you tell the contractor, you got 5 items that are in non-compliance.
Right.
He asks you to come back out, and then you say, well, gee, I just found 2 more.
No, that wouldn't count.
Okay.
It would be for the 5 items.
All right.
And that's pretty standard practice for fire inspections. It tends to motivate the contractor to do it right the first time.
Sure.
A lot of times they'll try to cut corners, thinking that the fire marshal will let it go. And this wants them not to do that.
Okay. Are there no other questions? Thank you, Chief, again. Hope you and your family have a Merry Christmas. And I'll ask for the vote of the council. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The next one is to authorize the payment of our share on the MDOT I-75 road reconstruction. Evidently, the new legislation never made it through. And so cities are...
Need me to take it off the table?
I do.
Not just yet.
Point of information.
Can I give some information first?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I checked today, and I'm still waiting to get an answer from MML, because I did not see anything that this was, it was approved by the House and Senate, and it was sent to the governor's office for signature. I've seen a list of other items that he signed. This one was not listed in there, so I have a call into John Lamaka at MML to see if he has heard anything on this yet. At this point, I would just ask that maybe just maintain where it's at and do nothing at this point.
Well, if it's tabled, we can just pass it without
Leave
doing
it on
any
the
other
table.
action. We don't need a motion.
So Senator Marty Nolenberg was the one that brought this bill forth. And he's out of Troy. This is a big impact on Troy and River and Royal Oak. I think he said Massachusetts, Royal Oak, and Troy are looking at $20 million. Our fee here is $339,000. And the point he was making on this whole issue was that's less money that we have to take care of our local roads. You know, that's a huge amount of money for us, huge amount of money for those communities. There's 45 communities that are affected by this. And it would only now, the way that they changed it, it would only affect those, the state trunk line with limited access, the freeways, the I-75, the I-94s. I don't know if they did anything here on M39. I think we may have to have some contribution. Maybe a little bit different on that is that we actually have some, Southfield Road and M39 actually have an impact on us, where South 75 does not. We have no exit there. It just goes right through the city, and we just have the burden of maintenance of the fire or police patrol on that area. So at this point, I would just ask to maybe just leave it as it is.
So I might ask a question. Is there a deadline on doing this? I mean, is there urgency to do this, like, you know, like when it was first brought to us?
Yeah,
or is there?
I think they were anxious to get it all signed and sent back, and I think a delay here has actually been more beneficial to us at this point in time.
So there's actually no deadline for us to get this done?
They didn't have a deadline in there. They wanted it overnighted to them last meeting, and with it not being signed, I'll make contact with them again and tell them that we're not interested in signing this until this law is clarified.
Unless they tell us there's a deadline, right?
Correct. And then we'll keep.
Then we have to deal with it at that point.
Exactly.
Open contract inside there, so they don't even have a deadline.
Right.
And the other side,
They're
is
gonna
this
do
thing
it.
could get passed with a 90-day delay before it's effective. So I'm afraid if we send the money too early, even if it passes, we're gonna have egg on our face because it's not effective, and we can wait the 90 days and say, oh, golly, we don't have to pay it.
And if we sent them the money, we might have hell getting it back.
Yeah, I think they're quick on returning that money. I think.
You think that? I don't think so.
No.
For the audience, there's only, I think, 40 cities in the state that this affects. So it falls obviously on the very large cities. They have the biggest impact. But for a city like Allen Park, you can see this one project's a substantial number. So, all right, we'll go to the motion to extend the 2016 contract and unit prices with GV Cement Contracting Company for pavement repairs, for utility repairs to the 2017 construction season. Can I have that motion?
Support.
Councilman Cisco is moved. It was supported here, I'm sorry, first. Councilwoman Gavrecki. Are there discussions by council?
Just if we can have maybe an explanation.
This was we received a letter from Mr. Vincent Vitale from GV Cement. He's offered to extend the contract from 2016 to the 2017 construction season. Same unit prices. I verified that with the engineer. This would be unit for unit. So whatever we're paying in 2016, we'll pay in 2017. There had been some discussion that maybe it wouldn't include the concrete because that's supposed to go up. I told Sohal, let them know we're not interested in that. It has to be item for item. I don't think we could take it to, this would have to be approved by RTAB. We could take it with the caveat that this part is, we're approving, extending it on this, but this part is different. So this is an item for item increase. We are aware that the concrete is going up about 10%. So there would be that savings on that volume, and then also the bidding process of $4,000 to $5,000 would be saved in bidding. So I'm just bringing it forth for the council to consider. If you're not interested, we'll notify Mr. Vitale of that, and we'll let Sohal know that we'll need to prepare bid specs and move forth, which will happen here in the month of January. But it just asked for your consideration of your wishes on this one.
So to extend the contract, does that include just an addendum to the contract?
Yeah, everything
exists?
Yeah, everything will stay the same, and then they'll use the specs for the 2017 projects. That'll be his addendum on that.
In point of information, this resolution will include, the attorney just asked me if we could put in our minutes for record-keeping purposes that we will be not going out for bid because of 2-824 subsection 4, that the city council determines that there would be no economic or other advantage to seek competitive bid. So, and with the extending prices, that would be a reason. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions by council? I'd just say one thing that they did do, and everybody on this job this year, we got the award for the project, so everybody did a good job, did their part. But it was nice to see that the contractor with unit pricing came in under our estimated budget such that we could actually do one additional street with the tax dollars that were raised and we thought we were using. And so we actually got more work done than we anticipated, and I think everybody was to be commended for that. Without any other comments or questions, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. The second request for GV Cement Contracting is to extend the 2016 contract and unit prices for the pavement replacement program for the 2017 construction. I have a motion to place that before the council.
Motion, Mayor.
Councilman DiGiulio, supported by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. Are there questions on this?
I have a question. This is the
Councilman
group,
Rourke.
this is the group that was doing the small sections on all the,
Yeah, I apologize, I gotta go back here. The previous one was for the utility work. That was
Right.
the water main work.
correct.
And I had it confused, I apologize. This one is actually for the projects the mayor was talking about. This is the millage money. The road millage money is APL.
Well, is this the millage money, or is this the sectional?
No. This is the road millage money, or the street millage money. The road sectioning was done by Gaglio.
Okay, so they haven't come to us yet then?
We've asked, I told Sohail would consider, but maybe if he sees that this has already been done, that may force him to kind of force his hand a little bit.
Okay. So I'll wait for them to come back to ask my question as far as.
I know what you're thinking.
Because we were under budget in some of these areas, yet there was one section we didn't finish because we didn't have any money. So I'm kind of like stymied here, so the engineer never really gave me an answer to that. Thank you.
Any other questions by council? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried.
Point of information again, just to point out, that will be, the council does determine that there would be no economic or other advantage to the city to seek competitive bids, and it will be so noted in the minutes. Thank you.
You've heard the clerk, and do I have the motion here, please? Did I miss that somebody moved and it was?
Oh, no, I threw you off. We're good. Sorry, I said it after the fact. I apologize, Mayor.
Who moved and who supported, just for my,
Councilman,
okay.
He jumped in it.
Yeah. And when we voted on it, he's just adding that item. So I'm at 6, which is the city's option to extend the term of lease for the 16630 Southfield Suite 3100 property, which would be effective April 19th of 2017, which is the third year of that lease. And we have to send it in 90 days before the date comes up. So that's the reason for that. If I could have that motion, please.
Motion.
Councilman Templin has moved, Councilman DiGiulio has supported. Is there any further discussion?
One question. How much has it gone up now, the rent? What do we pay, $16.5 a month now? Is that what we pay right now, or what? What do we pay right now?
Hold on 1 second. It's on page.
Well, the rent has gone up 5% based upon
So from
the amendment, but the total amount that we pay in common area maintenance and utility and maintenance adds substantially to the cost.
Right, I know that, but,
Okay.
so the base, though, has gone up from 16,262 to 17,075.
Right.
Thank you.
Is there any other, Councilwoman Gavricki, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I might have missed this, and you may have already said it. This lease starts when and goes to when?
April 19th of 2017 and go to April 17th or 18th of 2018.
And then
But it has to be in their, the exercise has to be in their hands by 90 days before that. So it'd be, the last date we could have it to them would be January 19th, and we only have one meeting coming up, and
Oh, okay,
so,
got it. Thank you.
sure. Let me just tell the council this story. I had an attorney that he was coming to the statute of limitations on a matter and had to go up to Bay City in January. And got one of those 10 or 12-inch snowfalls, and he missed the date. Couldn't get there. The statute of limitations doesn't have a snow exception. His malpractice carrier was not happy when he had to pay the client for him missing. So waiting too close to the time, there's things just can happen. We know we need the time. We're not going to have a new city hall by 2017 April. So I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Closes the regular order of business. We're at other business and
May I
council.
ask one question?
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry. Just for a point of clarification, on the utility repairs, I know you got a little confused as to who made the motion in support, but did we vote on that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
we
then-
did?
Yes.
and then
Yeah,
Ms.,
he just added the 2.844, and that's what I'm thinking. I said, I thought we voted on that, and I was trying to figure out
Okay.
what Mike was doing to me there.
I
but
got confused too. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
well.
you.
Ms.
I
wanted
think you're
FaceTime.
confused, Mayor. What the heck is that about? You knew.
Okay.
So we're at other business. Do I have any comments from council? Councilman Rourke.
I just want to thank Bob Cady, our finance director, for coming up and answering Dennis's question. That we get a lot of those different questions. It's nice to have the preparation and the response with that. And we talk about a lot about the snowfall and staying off the streets and stuff like that. And it came up that once they plowed, take a look. Obviously, you want to use your discretion with that. I mean, right now, I have 4 cars in my driveway that we have to like smash them because I have a small driveway, and you go up as far as you can to try to accommodate as much as you can. But it's a safety issue. I know it came up when Matt was talking just last night. When there's cars parked on both sides, our streets aren't wide, and you have to wait at the end of the block to make sure all the other cars come through because you'll never get through either. And with the snow, it just makes it worse. So, I mean, it's common sense out there in helping the neighbor, talking to the neighbor, and I know I got a call saying, hey, they're going to plow, just as we said. We didn't know if it's a snow emergency, but I got a call, hey, they plowed my street, thank you. So I told my neighbors, take your cars off the street, they're plowing. It was at the south end. They didn't get to mine till the next day, but at least I knew they were coming. So it's a matter of communication with your neighbors. If you see, you hear, or someone at the north end calls you, they're plowing your street, get the cars off the street. And we have to work together with that and communicate it, because not everybody goes to, like it was brought up, Al, not everybody goes on the radio and hears WJR or whatever radio stations to see that, so you just have to think that get the car off the street, and common sense will prevail with that. Other than that, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, or whatever you celebrate this time of the year, and just be safe out there driving. There's a lot of activity, a lot of family fun activity, so I appreciate what you have. Thank you.
Councilman DeGiulio. Oh.
Just real quick, I forgot to state when I was up here earlier, and you jogged my memory. I stated in a study session that we'd have the audit report on the city website. I have not gotten the final version. I should have it tomorrow morning. I wanted to get something that didn't say draft on it to put out there. The small report is out there, but I should have the final version tomorrow. Once I do, we'll get that on the website right away, so anybody that wants to review the total report will have it.
I'll still keep my comment.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Councilman DeGiulio.
2 things, Mayor. I'm going to read a letter that the council received tonight. It says, Dear Mayor and City Council members, a few observations, notes regarding the December 13, 2016 City Council meeting. It is my understanding we have employed an experienced city manager. It concerns me to observe the following. It appears certain council members are communicating with state departments and other private and public entities without his knowledge or approval. To disclose personal research findings or conversations publicly without independent vetting creates distrust about our manager. This may only be grandstanding. However, you have a police chief and a city manager that can do the research. In addition, this method of fact gathering gives the impression to the casual observer as meddling. My suggestion is to reveal this data or conversation during a closed session, not during open meetings with cameras rolling. The gun range is another example of creating mistrust. We have employed a police chief. I understand it is his responsibility to gather information regarding a gun range, police education requirements, etc., and to give his recommendation to council for the necessity and/or approval. For another officer unless officially and publicly identified at each council meeting by the chief of police as authorized to spearhead a gun range, I am at a loss why the officer, not the police chief, is giving presentations to the council and the public on this issue. Thank you, Mayor, for disclosing publicly the real cost of a gun range. The figure presented by the officer was erroneous and left out some important information. You presented your information in a non-confrontational manner. It appears some city employees and a council member or two have their own agendas. The gun range, in particular, could be one of those issues where the state firmly encourages neighboring cities to share their assets, which the police chief appears to be doing. I commend the mayor on running a council meeting with professionalism and pointing out to an audience member about the free speech issue. In addition, I compliment the council members who serve on the new City Hall committee. Your hard work is appreciated by the majority of the citizens. You will not satisfy everyone, and I caution, please do not take the comments of small-minded people personally. It's signed sincerely. I'm going to just use his first name, Dennis, and I'm going to give his street, Pinecrest and Allen Park. I think that was a very good letter. He hit a lot of things on that letter. So I want to get back to, though, what's going on with each year. Maybe you can answer this for me, Mr. Kibbe. Each year we spend $2 million on the $29 million in bonds that we sold, correct? We spent $2 million making the payment. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Right around there, okay. And we're using, we had $29 million in this property here. We don't own it anymore. We sold it for $12 million. We're using, we get $2 million a year from time equities, is that correct? As a payment on this?
Yeah,
550,000?
46,000 a month.
550,000, and we're paying out $2 million for it. Boy, that sounds like a real deal. Okay, so once that $12 million, though, runs out or is paid off, where will the money come from to pay future $2 million a year payments? The general fund. So somehow it has to come in there. And we have a safer grant, too, for the fire department that comes due next year. Is that correct? So we have to come up with money there if we expect to continue that. Okay, the $2 million, we're going to build a new renovated police fire department. We're looking potentially over here on Southfield Road in the shopping district, which I think is a great location. But where's that money going to come from again? Can you tell us where the money's coming from to do that project?
Well, you know,
Mr. Cady,
this is, wait a minute, no, this is your time to comment on that.
Okay, if you
But
doesn't
we
want to-
don't have to take the matter and bring people forward, Councilman. This isn't at that point.
Well, I'd like, can somebody answer at the table then? I guess, why do we have Mr. Cady here then? We might as well let him go home and spend time with his family, if we're not going to let him speak. We got $2 million from Bond C left over.
Right.
That's $2 million above the $29 million that we put into this property, right?
And we have 2 LOIs going out that would generate, after costs, probably another $2 million of the $2.3 million.
Okay, but that $2 million on Bond C, that's not our money. We have to pay it
But
back.
the capital cost will come in, yes. But it can only be used for capital. We can't spend it any other way, and we can't give it back to the bondholders. It's crazy.
I'm not asking to give it back. I'm just saying we owe that money. It's not like we have $2 million that belongs to us.
But we do, so.
Well, it belongs to us, but we have to pay it back. We're not going to, it's not free and clear, right? And I know, can you explain, Mayor, you mentioned the difference between a levy and a lien. Well, what is the difference? I mean, I call things a lien, you call them a levy. What does that mean, a levy?
The levy is a judgment levy normally, and it means that somebody has pursued a claim against the city, and we have denied payment for whatever reason. They've gone into court, and the court has said, you will be entitled to a levy against the taxpayer's property and a tax bill will be issued for the amount of that levy, and it will be paid at the next time that a
And
tax bill
if
goes
I'm
up.
correct with my figures of what we owe, I think we owe about, if that happened, there was a levy placed against a home, it would be approximately $1,200 for each home. So that could happen, true?
I suppose anything could happen.
Well, all the judge got to do is say you're going to pay it. That's $1,200 against every resident in this city.
We
Even
we haven't missed any bond payments, so there isn't any bondholder that can complain.
I'm not saying you've missed them. I'm just trying to get to the public.
Don't say
Why?
I missed them.
Why?
The city hasn't missed them.
We haven't got any money. I want the public to know why we don't have any extra money. We owe over $16 million more than we sold the property for. And I'm going to keep hammering that because that is a fact. You know, nobody's going to dispute that. See you next year.
Other council people.
I will.
Councilwoman Gavrecki.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you for coming out tonight. It's a little warmer than it was yesterday, but stay warm out there and enjoy your time with your families.
I'll piggyback on,
Mayor Pro
what
Tem
the
McCollum.
Reverend Hunt said. It's the time, it's the season for peace, joy, and love, and goodwill. And I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year. And kind of wish that Charles was here for some positive vibes, but there's a lot of negativity that goes around. We all get trapped in it on occasion, even myself. But then you have to stop and take a look in the mirror and say, you know, what do I gain from this? Not that I'm asking anybody to be a Pollyanna, but just have a little warmth in your heart towards others. Be a little more positive in how you think about others and yourself. And again, a happy and healthy 2017. Thank you for coming.
Councilman Cisco.
Yeah, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a safe Christmas. And I was reading in the paper today some things that I think kind of tie in with us here in Allen Park, and just a little snippet of what I read. Former Flint emergency managers Darnell Early and Gerald Ambrose both face multiple charges, including false pretenses and conspiring to commit false pretenses, felonies that each carry a 20-year sentence. And there's going to be another round of charges filed, and I think this will go into the Treasury Department. That seems where the indication is. They started with low level and they have now moved up, and the final ones will be in Treasury. And I just want to say this, is when Ms. Parker was here, I used to ask her on a regular basis, are the people that made this deal for us for this property, are they being investigated? And of course, we knew about the SEC one, which actually came to an ending. But I was also told that the state police were doing an investigation within Michigan. And I asked her that every time I used to see her, I almost asked her that same question. Is that still ongoing, still ongoing? And she'd always say, yes. And then nothing. And from what I understand, there probably wasn't an investigation, because these people, the emergency managers, are being charged with something that our former officials could have been charged with: conspiring to commit false pretenses. And what are the false pretenses? Was that the bonds we applied for, the figures and stuff submitted, were not, could I say, accurate or true? Just to be nice, because it is the Christmas season. But why weren't these same charges done? This is the Attorney General doing this now. And I'm assuming that our time to do anything is gone by, the statute of limitations, but I don't know that for a fact. And because these things didn't happen, there's really not closure here in Allen Park about what was done to all of us. We spent, as Councilman DiGiulio said, $29, $30 million. Just imagine what we could have done with that money. We probably wouldn't have had to do a road millage, to ask our residents to do a road millage. There's many things that come out of that. And, but I'm going to look into this. I am going to make some phone calls into this and find out where this could go to or not. This is something that I've talked about for a long time, since I was elected in 2011, and it still sits with me. And I don't like it. So I'll just say that I will look into it, and I hope that everybody has a healthy Merry Christmas. So I thank everybody for coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. I know it's been a busy time of year, and taking time out to come here, it's great to see you all. I'd like to wish everybody a safe and happy Christmas and New Year, and make sure our emergency responders also are not forgotten. Be careful out there. Thank you.
It's the last meeting of the year. City Administrator, would you like to speak to?
No, just, again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I tell you, I love seeing the kids out here every time. I think it's great that Mr. Lloyd has them come out. I apologize, you have to come out for some long meetings, but I think it's great that they're actively involved on a regular basis. So hopefully we'll see them again in the next year.
Treasurer Armstrong?
Thank you all for coming. Have a Merry Christmas and a safe New Year, and see you next year.
Mr. Clerk?
Likewise, wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and thank you all for coming out tonight. God bless you and good night.
I too want to thank everyone that came out, especially the students, and given how busy this time of the year is for us. And before I say Merry Christmas to all those people who celebrate Christ's birth, last week council meeting was Muhammad's birth, celebrated the Muslim faith, and of course the reopening of the Second Temple, Hanukkah, comes on December 24th. So the great religions of the Middle East find December particularly important to their each faith, and I wish all of them happy holidays. And I will ask for adjournment tonight.
Motion. Support.
Councilman Rourke, supported by Councilman DiGiulio. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We were adjourned, and the official clock says 7:04.